Hello there, viewing audience. Mickey P here, and today we are looking at boxes for all of Monkey Island because I've somehow managed to finally complete sort of my collection of them. So I thought I'd go through what comes in every box, and it kind of ends up being a bit of a journey through the history of video game packaging because this series stretches across quite a lot of history, to be honest. Anyway, let's get started. First up, start with the beginning, Monkey Island 1. As you may be able to tell, this is not exactly the original box. So this is the Kix XL budget release. I think they were a UK-based company who did cheaper reissues of games in the early mid-90s or something. And the reason I've got this one is because it was affordable, and the original version, that's like the actual LucasArts box, you can't seem to get for less than like $200, and I'm not quite sure I want to spend that much money on one game. So this is what we've got though. Secret of Monkey Island. I always think the cover art for this release I always think's really cool because it's very sort of epic, kind of like fantasy swords adventure-y stuff. It kind of doesn't quite fit with the more comedy tone of the game, but I always thought it's cool looking. And yeah, so this is by LucasArts. Well, actually, this game is by Lucasfilm Games, which is what they were calling themselves at the time this was released. But I guess by the time this reissue came out, they changed their name to LucasArts. So anyway, let's look around the box. Spines of these Kix XL releases are unfortunately not very interesting. And then there's the back, which has some text and screenshots. And back of this unfortunately isn't the same as what would have been the original release. So I think the Kix people, whoever they are, might have written their own blurb. Actually, I think if I remember correctly, I looked up and Kix was a label used by US Gold or someone, who were a UK publisher of mostly imported US games. So yeah, Monkey Island. And interestingly, the system requirements are a sticker on the bottom on this one. Bring it into focus if I can. Start doing manual focus. I'm sick of the autofocus being so annoying. Yeah. 3.5-inch floppies, VGA. Needs 640k memory, which of course should be enough for everyone. Interesting, sound card support's listed as Sonic support, which just makes me think of the Hedgehog. So that's odd. Yeah, I think Kix also released these games as versions on like the Amiga and stuff, which was really popular in the UK. So maybe would have sold quite well that way. Anyway, let's look what's in the box. First up, on top, because it's the thing I keep needing to get out of the box, is the copy protection code wheel. Very useful because, of course, back in these days, often games were copy protected with something like this, which is honestly a lot more convenient than some sort of disk-based thing that means you can't copy the disks, which means you can't make backups and stuff. And it's this, you can do whatever you want with the disks. Oh, you just got to have this bit of cardboard and carefully designed so that you can't easily photocopy it. Yeah, very useful. It would be easier if people weren't obsessed with copy protecting games, so at least it's colourful and interesting. And game discs themselves, in this particular, it just comes over. It's odd, because the first disc isn't a high density one, but discs 2 and 3 are, and I guess that's just because they wanted it to, that's how to make it add up to the right size, and meant they only had to buy 2 high density discs instead of 3. Don't even know what the price difference was between different sorts of discs back then, but yeah. So yeah, I think Kicks kind of did their own installers, which were just batch files and a copy of one of the zip programs. I forget which one. Yeah, the 3 discs, and that's all the game comes on. And next up we have the manual, and rather nicely, unlike some other Kicks releases, the manual and the code wheel and stuff all reasonably high quality. So, manuals all... Yeah, I've never actually read this because I've never found myself needing a manual to play a LucasArts game of this era. Yeah, and then the back is all kind of technical notes for, I think, 5 different platforms, or we'll have a look. We've got your PC, Commodore Amiga, and Atari ST, and at the end there's an ad for the hint book, which you can get for £10. So yeah, I think, yeah, the original LucasArts release kind of had the technical notes as a separate pamphlet, so they just put a different one in each box, but Kicks, I guess, because cost cutting, just did them all in the one. And it's the Kicks Excel product catalogue. I mean, it's not quite the LucasArts catalogue, but yeah, first thing, oh, it's this game, and then Cruise for Corpse, Eye of the Beholder, because they put out games from lots of companies. Another World, it's a good game. Never got very far in it though, because I keep dying. Cybercon 3, Gunship. My dad played a lot of that back in the day. Lynx, golf game. Adventures of Robin Hood, no idea which Robin Hood game that is. Street Fighter 2. Sierra Games, which is kind of interesting, having the same company putting out both Sierra and LucasArts, because they were competitors. Yeah, it's all the stuff. Anyway, so that's Monkey Island 1, and not the original box, but it's a box. Ideally, I'd still like to... What I want to do is track down the original 16-color EGA version in full original box, because I mean, this is the 256 color version, but I'm really curious to see like what the original art is like, kind of like less realistic, more stylized. So yeah, that could be interesting, and maybe I'll find it in the future. And we're on to Monkey Island 2, which I do have in the original box, and I'm really lucky to have found it for less than $100. Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge, graphic adventure by Ron Gilbert. And I think the cover on this kind of seems a bit more appropriately appropriately comedy, like Voodoo Doll. Oh no, he's getting hit by a Voodoo Doll. I guess because by the time this came out, they sort of had a better idea of like what the tone of the games was. Yeah, it's a cool piece of art. I think it's Steve Purcell who did the cover art for the first 2 Monkey Islands. Yeah. One thing I find interesting about this box is that logo says LucasArts and then Lucasfilm Games underneath, because I think when this came out is when they were on the verge of renaming themselves. And then, yeah, system required stickers, additional side wraparound thing, so you can just slap a different one on different boxes and have it look really obvious on the shelf, whether it's PC or the Mac or the Amiga or whatever version. Let's have a look what the requirements are. Yeah. AT or compatible, 10 MHz 286 or later required, 640K of RAM, VGA or MCGA, add lib, roll and Sound Blaster, and Sound Master 2. I have no idea what a Sound Master is. And discs, mouse, joystick, hard drive required, because you might not have. I continue to find old system requirements amusing. Back around the side, more interesting spine because it's a real release, not a budget one. And the back. So yeah, he's big, he's bad, he's back. And yeah, one thing I kind of wish like the Kicks box did have the real blurb is because all the original boxes had this had it written as like a expert or how do you pronounce that word from Guybrush's diary. So I thought I'd killed the ghost pirate LeChuck for good. Wrong. How many times can that bloated old fool die? Other pirates tell me there's no escape. When LeChuck wants you dead, you're dead, they say. Legend has it that the treasure of Big Whoop holds the key to great power. I must find it before LeChuck finds me. Then screenshots and a rather spooky picture of a skull with a candle on it. Yay, video games. Other vaguely notable thing about this is barcode says Aussie Soft because this must be an Australian distributed release. Aussie Soft were a local game developer who also, not game developer, game distributor who handled all of the Sega stuff and I think possibly got bought out by Sega and were known as Sega Aussie Soft for a bit. So they and I think that they distributed a lot of like the LucasArts and Sierra stuff at various points, but they also were responsible for releasing like the Mega Drive and then the Saturn and the Dreamcast, and they even, I think, ran the Sega World theme park in Sydney that I never went to and is now long gone. Anyway, what's inside this box? Floppy disks, of course. Total of 5 high-density disks in this case, and all with a nice label on them. And the code wheel. And this one's less colourful probably because you don't want to spend that much money printing your copy protection wheel. Same concept, match one wheel to the other wheel, read a number off. And I guess it worked, because 2 consecutive games used the method, and a manual, which is very similar to the first game's manual. How to play adventure games, I've never read this. And the reference card for IBM, which is useful because it tells you the command line options to be able to set different sound cards and graphics options, because Monkey Island didn't have like a setup configuration program to do it, just kind of auto-detected it and had like the ability to override it with command line options, which is kind of unusual. Anyway, Monkey Island 2, fun game, arguably better than the first, certainly nicer, more detailed artwork, both great games. Now we get on to the kind of later non-Ron Gilbert Monkey Islands. So here we have The Curse of Monkey Island, the only pirate adventure that asks a question, what's sharper, your sword or your wit? And it doesn't say who made it on the front cover because I guess they'd stopped doing that. I think that this was the last game LucasArts ever put out with the Scum engine. And I think the first one that was like Windows only had high-res or 640 by 480 graphics, which I guess are kind of high-res. But yeah, it's box, it's fine. Windows 95 CD-ROM, because that was what the thing was then. And on the bottom is where the system requirements live. If I can make this focus. Yeah, it's going to be hard to focus, but yeah. Requires a PC high graphics card. I guess because not everyone had one of those, I don't know. Windows 95 DirectX Pentium 90, 16 megs of RAM, quad speed CD drive, Windows sound card, DirectX 5. Requires 1.2 megs free hard disk space. That's not very much, but I guess it's because it was the era of just install a bit to the hard drive, play the rest off the CD. Let's open it up, and by this time they'd stopped doing those kind of boxes with lids. It was just these cardboard things. And we've got a rather substantial manual, full colour, lots of pictures. It's interesting because it's a much sort of fancier manual than the first 2 games. And the discs themselves in a nice little jewel case. Ooh. Got to be careful of that hinge because it's done by just sort of bending plastic so it may break. So I'll be gentle with that, as old plastic goes funny anyway. What I find interesting on the back is stickers. A limited time offer. Purchase the Curse of Monkey Island and receive the legendary Monkey Island 1 and 2 free. May win offer. Ends 31st of January 1998. Peel off this coupon and see back for details. I guess whoever bought this never did that. And there is a free copy of Monkey Island 1 and 2 that could have been out there but isn't. Anyway, and on the subject of re-releases of Monkey Island 1 and 2, what I actually had back in the day was not fancy box releases, it was this. Re-release CD Monkey Island Madness, which had the first 2 games and a demo of Curse. And it's just all on one disc, and it's kind of nice to have because it has the CD version of Monkey Island 1, which is really hard to find as its own separate box thing, and the advantage of the CD version is it's got like CD audio music rather than just the MIDI. I think they just went and recorded the MIDI track with a really good synthesizer. So it's kind of the definitive version of the game, I guess. And Monkey Island 2 is exactly the same as a floppy disk version, only with the copy protection patched out, which unfortunately also patches out the difficulty selection. So you're just stuck playing on hard mode the way you should play it. Wait, this is just... I'm just mentioning this really just for completeness. Anyway, we're on to Monkey Island 4. Escape from Monkey Island. It has an offbeat adventure of party proportions. You can probably tell from the box, this is the European release because it's got one of those European ratings logos. Or one of the old European ratings logos when they were this thing instead of the modern PEGI logo. They didn't have the guy saying PEGI 12 or whatever. I don't know, I'm rambling. Except for Monkey Island, it's got a very... it's cartoony style, but then I guess Monkey Island 3 was cartoony as well. This was kind of an early use of 3D graphics. In fact, it requires a 3D accelerator, and I don't know. I think this one has aged the worst out of all the Monkey Island games because, like, pixel art and high-res 2D graphics all kind of still work these days, but early 3D is pretty rough. And even the nice pre-rendered pictures don't look that great, and the screenshots and yet, like, in motion the game looks pretty awful. But hey, we got another thing of the memoirs of Guybrush Threepwood, blah blah blah. Don't actually want to read the whole thing. System requirements on a very plain looking bottom. Needs got a list of all the 3D cards it works with. Various voodoos and ATI rages. I think at this time I had a TNT2 card in my computer. Guess I should open this up. It's not a particularly interesting inside. We have game discs itself. Just 2 CDs. And the manual is a little black and white thing in the CD cover. Another thing we've got in here is the receipt from Electronics Boutique, which I'm hesitant to show on video because I think it has the address of the guy who originally bought it. I've noticed some collectors seem to like knowing that their game has the original receipt, so there's been a couple of things I bought that have that, and yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to prove its provenance as an original purchase item, but yeah. Escape from Monkey Island, apparently bought from an Electronics Boutique back in the day. I wonder what he thought of it. And years later we come to the final Monkey Island game, Tales of Monkey Island, which was not developed by LucasArts, but it was developed by Telltale, which is a company started by a bunch of people who were fired from LucasArts when they stopped making adventure games. So this is kind of this is like the fancy deluxe edition that Telltale sold through their website. May have got a retail release later, but it's like a fancy treasure chest, and it's got cool stuff in it. So let's have a look. Got a piece of 8. A little coin thing with a skull on it. Yay, coins. And we have a map. Cloth maps are a thing, even though this isn't even an RPG, so I don't quite know why they're a thing. A map of the Gulf of Melange, which I guess was the area the game is set in. It's kind of a weird cloth map because it's got the edges that are just a white border. We have a tarot card of the Joker. You can actually buy a whole set of Cards of Iconic tarot cards from Telltale's site, but I never did. Have a badge for the Trial of the Century with Stan of Stan's previously used vessels. He's lovely. It's funny, he was a lawyer in this game. Sorry. And a drink coaster from Club 41. Yay, it's items related to this game specifically, so I guess you have to like this reboot to be into them. And the game itself, which comes in this slipcase, which means it has a nice cool front cover by Steve Purcell, who did the cover for the first 2 games. It's kind of interesting because he's sort of had to match the rather less realistic graphic design of this game in his art style. And annoying thing about this slipcase is the back is done with this, you could cut them out and make little stand-up pirate dudes things. Except if you did that, you'd wreck the slipcase, so I'm not quite sure why you would want to do that, and I kind of wish they'd just done a regular cover on the slipcase. Anyway, game disc itself is, as is standard for these days, and even back when this came out, DVD case. You have a cut, standard, boring cover picture with renders of the in-game models, and the back. And my phone's gone ding, and on the back we do have, I just memorized the Guybrush Wood thing, and the DVD, because this was like the deluxe fancy physical release. At the time, Telltale was putting quite a lot of extras on these, so we've got like commentary videos and some flash movies that one of their fans was hired to do for them, and trailers, wallpaper, screenshot galleries, yeah. So yeah, it's the latest and probably final Monkey Island game, unless somehow Ron Gilbert wrangles the rights back from Disney and makes the Monkey Island 3 that he always had in his head. Would be fascinating to see. Anyway, here's a stack of games, and yeah, I've kind of trailed off. Monkey Island games are all really good, but the only ones you can actually buy these days are the first 2 in Tales. 3 and 4 are kind of, they haven't been re-released. The first 2 got like HD remakes, and then the latest one was on digital stores anyway. But in 3 and 4 you can still get the discs fairly cheap. First 2 not so much, unless you just want a budget re-release. Yeah. One thing I don't have is that I may or may not bother getting is there was the physical disc release of the HD release of 1 and 2. I think it came with a soundtrack of some sort. Yeah, it's a thing. I may get it someday. Yeah, Monkey Island, good games, interesting range of boxes, and I'm Mickey P, and thank you for watching.